It's now 7:15. Good evening, all. Thank you for joining. We're back again. Once again, my name is Arlene J. Ramsey, and the name of my show is called Everyone Let's Talk. Today's topic is there an attack on masculinity? Why are more and more men becoming transgendered women? Again, the question is there an attack on masculinity? Why are more and more men becoming transgendered women? So, for those of you who don't know, a transgender woman is a man who is I'm not, not all transgender men have gone through the surgery where they have had their penis removed. So some has had the surgery, others have not, but they go through gender affirming care where they're taking estrogen and other medical care to ensure that they become more feminine in nature, and they're becoming transgender women. And it's a phenomenon that I have been studying. Of course, the LGBTQ community thinks that many of them are born that way, where they're just happen to be born in a different body when they are the opposite sex. Too often, I say that people do not tell the truth when it comes to their circumstances and their experience in life. Okay, for those of you who don't know, I at one point used to group facilitate uh, cognitive behavioral therapy and rational emotive behavioral therapy classes at Delaney Hall Halfway Home, as well as the Greater Essex Drug and Alcohol Treatment Center. And for years, many of the men who were in these facilities who were bisexual or gay were men who were sexually abused by either older male family members or a male partner of their mother's male partner. I'm going to say that again. Many of the men I have come across and have treated who have been bisexual or openly gay are men who were sexually abused by older male family members when they were boys or their mother's male partners. In that, plenty of boys are growing up confused. Now, I can understand why they're confused because as a boy, it's natural for boys to think that they are the ones to be the givers and not the receivers. And if they are sought out to be receivers, then maybe something is wrong with them. And just like when girls are sexually abused, the problem does not get addressed. There's no retribution for the child. And oftentimes the child go on to experience further abuse for years, or there's just no retribution or no discussion about it at all. Therefore, this boy grow up confused and tormented about his experience and his pain. That is starting to cause problems. The other thing I've noticed is, and I know that this is going to be a hard pill for the women to swallow, but we have to address this phenomenon because society is getting out of control. And what I'm going to do is have a series of conversations centered around this topic and other topics that expand from this topic because it is getting out of control. Right? Um, Part of the problem are mothers who are longing for male partnership, right? It is a real thing. We need partnership. We need companionship. And oftentimes straight men are not around as our companions. That is the truth, right? And so it's a matter of who are speaking principles or teaching these principles to our young boys so that they understand the value of companionship and partnership with women, platonic companionship and partnership with women, without, of course, without there being any sex involved or intimacy involved. There's a need for that. That's a part of our community. That's a part of how we survive. That is a part of how we bond as human beings. Men would probably think that they don't need to bond, but they in fact do bond with other men. They do not bond with women. And that is something that we need to get into as to why this is not happening. Because we're going down a road that is unhealthy for society. And it's backlashing on women. We have transgender women who are joining natural born women's sports, and they're taking our trophies from us. They're taking our titles from us because they are still men. They're arguing points that they are not men, but they are still men. Hence, their genetic makeup will not change. It doesn't matter how much estrogen they are taking. It doesn't matter if they get breast implants and how feminine they look and behave. Their natural genetic makeup will have them outmatch women coin for coin, bar for bar, each and every time. And we cannot continue to have this. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I think that government should create another category for transgendered women and for transgendered men to compete against each other. But I also want you guys to notice this. Transgendered men, these are women who identify as men who are also going through gender affirming care to look more like men and look more masculine. We do not see this phenomenon with transgendered men joining and participating in natural male sports because they understand that they are still women and that they are not stronger than men. So they do not engage in natural male men sports. Yet we have this problem with transgendered women engaging and participating in women's sports. So I went through the matter of young boys getting sexually abused. There's also a matter of, like I said, men not knowing how to bond with, communicate with, and understand women. There are a lot of broken households where the fathers are not in the house. Or if their dad is in the house, the father may not have a healthy way of engaging with the mother. Therefore, the young boy does not see a healthy way to engage and be as a man and as a boy and engage with other women. The other issue is patriarchy. I'll say this again. Patriarchy was not made to oppress women. Patriarchy was made to keep other men at bay. I will say this again because for decades, women have thought that patriarchy was about oppressing women. Patriarchy is not about oppressing women. It is about oppressing and keeping most men at bay. When you look at the people in power and the families in power, it is certain families that are owning the power. They do not want outsiders to obtain the wealth and power that they will accept the 7 or 10 families to have. And these families want to continue to have power for centuries within their own bloodline. They appoint and position other male and female family members within their family to take on new positions when they get older. The goal is to control the masses of people. Hence, patriarchy is affecting men. Most men are working for hourly rate wages. If we go by how we were taught to live and survive, Back in the day, way back, way before I was born, it is the man that took care of the household financially. He worked and he brought his check home for the wife, and she paid all the bills, bought the groceries, bought the kids' school clothes, all these things. You understand. Cleaners, things like that to take care of the home. You understand. The woman spent her husband's money on the household. And families were able to live comfortably back in the day. In today's time, the gap between the haves and the have nots is continuing to widen, hence making it more and more difficult for men to barely survive, much less thrive within this economy. So men are becoming more and more disgruntled, and they're finding other avenues, survival methods of survival. This is about self-preservation at the end of the day, right? And I hope you all know that self-preservation is the first law of nature. So when people get into a bind where it seems as if their life is now a sense of urgency, the way they dabble and grapple with self-preservation is very animalistic, leaves no room for empathy, compassion, understanding, balance whatsoever. Because now it's down to the survival of the fittest, and what tools and avenues can we use, or I can use, to thrive within this economy. In that, men are learning that if they are transgendered women and they identify as women, they no longer have to deal with the burden of taking care of themselves and a household. So now the few dollars that they are making can stretch because they only need to spend those dollars on themselves. I hope you guys understood that. I will say that again. Men are learning that to identify as a woman, it relieves them of the responsibility of taking care of themselves and a household. As in to say this, there's plenty of men out here in the society that does not have children and they are single, but they are still taxed with the burden of making sure they amass and acquire some kind of wealth or some kind of nest egg, because eventually they want to have children and get married and have a household. So they're still taxed with the burden of how will they do that in this economy. And then there are the mentors are slimming down. So who's having the conversations with them about how to strategize and move different in economies such as this? Those conversations are not being had. And when resources dry up, people become very selective with their information, because wisdom and information is golden. You can't put a price tag on that. You can mentor somebody tonight and they could take what you told them and become a millionaire within 5 years if they moved right and if you had the right strategy in what you were telling them. Especially if they are not being attacked and burdened by society. So information is becoming very slim. It's like being in water and drowning, and somebody's giving you a pole. You're just frantically grabbing for that pole because you need to stay above water so that you don't drown. And those are the things that the men are not telling us, right? Because they don't know how to feel masculine and powerful having these kind of conversations with women. Because how do you tell a woman who sees you as the king of the jungle that you're struggling? And how do you have that conversation with her without her judging you as if you are unfit to be a man in this society? Very challenging conversations. So them learning that they can identify as a woman and relieve themselves of the responsibility. All they need to worry about is making the money that they make and taking care of themselves. Also, there's a lot of programs for women. There's not much programs for men. I'm not sure if you all know that. You know, the average man cannot reach out to any government assistance and say that he's struggling, but women can, right? So what a lot of these transgender women are doing, since they identify as women, they're signing up for female women programs, and they're being granted access to these resources because they now identify as a woman. So now they're getting spoiled because some of them have children and some of them don't. For the ones that do have children, they're not taking care of their responsibilities. It is the woman that's the single mother taking care of the child. And now they don't have any responsibilities. They're working for themselves. They're getting nonprofit organizations, and they're under a woman's identity. They're getting grants that are centered for women. They're signing up for programs and getting granted for programs that are made for women because they identify as a woman. So what that looks like, they're able to survive and thrive and are relieved of the burden of being looked at as a man to take care of themselves and take care of society. So when they identify as a transgender woman, you no longer, society don't look at them as someone who is unfit to thrive in this world because they are no longer identifying as men. The other problem with that is a lot of these transgendered men, I've been listening to the conversation, transgendered women. I've been listening to their conversations, and this is one thing we have to stop doing as women. There's too much arguing and too much clapback and not enough listening and observing. I listen to their conversations. Many of these transgendered, I'm not going to say many, the transgendered women, which are men who are identifying as women, transgendered women only want straight men. They are going after and seeking to date men who are not down low, who are not bisexual, or who are not gay. That means they want men who are heterosexual that say that they want women and only women. The problem with that is they're still men. And I'm going to say 90% of transgendered women still have their penis. But they're going after straight men. And some of them are successful at wearing down straight men. Some of them look so feminine. I don't know if you all know Laverne Cox. He's been a transgendered woman for decades. When you look at Laverne Cox, he looks feminine. A lot of these men are getting tricked. Many of these transgendered women don't have the Adam's apple. They go and get this. They get the outer part of it shaved down, so their Adam apple don't even stick out of their throat. So what this looks like is more and more men that you think are just straight are being turned out if they're engaging with transgendered women. Why is this happening? And then many of them think that they can woman better than women, meaning many of them are very sensual behaving and sexy behaving. Why is that happening? Does anybody have any questions before I continue or any statements? So I'll continue. Go ahead.
Can they get birth certificates changed?
No, birth
Oh,
certificates,
okay.
it doesn't change. And by their biological makeup, they're still men.
Sister Arlene, I must say they are gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous.
Some of them are, yes. Let me take the fan off.
Uh, Sister Arlene,
Yeah.
sometimes it takes a second for us to get off of mute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we off mute?
Matum, if you want to say something, we're off mute.
All right.
Okay.
There is a religion, and I'm not going to go into religion, so I'm not going to tell you the name of the religion. But there is over 1,000-year-old story. It goes like this: if you take 100 people, 50 men, 50 women, put them on an island, and then you take 50 men and put them on an island, and another 50 women and put them on an island, and you come back in 150 years, what will you find on the island with 50 men and 50 women, 50 women and 50 men? What will you find on those three islands after 150 years?
Yeah, after 150.
Should be a
So
lot
we,
of babies.
They need. What will you find? Who knows?
A lot of babies.
Nothing.
You'll
Nothing.
find dead people on the island that has just the 50 men and the island that has only the 50 women. But the island that has
Right.
50 men and 50 women, you're going to see generations of people. Young people, old
Right.
people, middle-aged people. You're just going to see just generations of people. And I understand that the biology doesn't change. Here's another thing. Here's another thing that transgendered women want to do. Many of them want to seek to have children, carry the children. They want to have children. They can't have children, right?
To say have children, right? Yeah.
He's kind of low.
Yeah, it's a three-way. I'm going back. We're going back on mute, Matum.
All right.
All right. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Arlene. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay. Thank you, Mattoon.
All right.
Okay. Anyone else? I heard another voice.
he asked a question. I thought he had the answer. Was going to give an answer.
Oh, okay. I guess he said that as in this because we answered it for him.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear it.
We did answer. Yeah, we answered it for him. But here's another thing I wanted to get into. There's more conversations are being had where transgendered women want the experience of carrying children. They cannot have babies because that's not how their bodies are made. However, there's such thing as innovation and medical innovation. You know, doctors can insert a womb in a man's belly and have him be able to grow a child in his stomach. And when the baby is, reach term, I'm quite sure that that's something that can happen. When the child reaches term, they just, give him a C-section. But where do we think these wombs will come from? And they're not going to take a womb from an old woman. They're going to take wombs from women in their prime, young girls, and women in their prime. So that means that we're up on the chopping block. Here's the other thing I wanted to address. And these are things we have to get back into principles, right? Women, we were born with our worth. And our worth is the ability to uphold community and have children. I'm going to say this again. The ability to uphold community and have children. Men has to build the community. Men build the homes, they build the cars and all of these things, and they build the infrastructure. It is the woman to fill it in and uphold the community and keep the system running. That's our worth. Men has to earn their spot in our community or in community. They have to earn their worth. Hence, they have to work for it. Hence why a man cannot just be broke or cannot have not have the ability to hustle and have value attached to his name in some way, shape, or form. Because he has to earn his spot in community. Now, the problem with that, just like we see with nature, right? In nature, it is always the animal that's the gulliest, that's proven to beat out other men and other males that reserve the right to mate with the females. And what other men and what other males do when we see in the lion pride, if they ever able to kill the male lions that's been holding down the pride, then they go and search for the pride, kill all the babies so that the females can get back into heat so that they can mate with the females to now have their bloodline live on. So now the problem we're dealing with is a lot of men are not reaching their greatness. Some of them they don't have skills. We're going to have to keep it real. And this is not talking negatively about men, because the next I'm going to be, getting on the women. And it's not really getting on women, but let's get with the men and why things are going the way that it's going. Men have to earn their spot. And many of them don't have the ability to think outside the box, or they don't have they don't even have the ability to think in a way like the box doesn't exist, right? They don't have the multitasking mind that women were born with. It is a scientific fact that women were born with the mind to multitask, and that is because we have to take care of the household, the children, the very same thing that I mentioned before. We uphold the community and have children. In that, that requires a multitasking mind, the ability to multitask, the ability to make quick decisions, and not just make quick decisions that can actually last, that you can live off of. Sometimes people will jump out the frying pan and into the fire. And that was a quick decision, but it wasn't a good decision. So the ability to assess your situation and make a lasting decisions, but quick, which means you can live off of that and it doesn't backfire, is a skill set. And what we're looking at is many men are not pushing and taxing their brains and their mind to be able to move along in this world. Right? So they're putting themselves in a box. They're not gaining any skill sets. They're not improving and bettering themselves. And if you're not improving and bettering yourself, you're not going to win when it comes to other men that know how to move around. The men that know how to move around have no problem with earning their spot in society. This is why it seems like there's a few men that are getting it together and doing what they have to do, and there are more men who are not. So for the men who are not moving along, who don't have I'm not going to say the gift of gab, because, they have the gift of gab and it can be used in a negative way. But I'm just going to say it's strategic. If they're not a mastermind, they don't master self, they don't improve on skill sets, or they're not learning new things of great value that has a dollar attached to it. Whereas if someone call you for help or need you for anything, you charge for it. Some of them don't think in that way. Hence, they don't have what it takes to survive and thrive in this world on their own, much less take care of themselves, take care of a woman, and take care of a whole household financially. You have to have a tactical mentality and mindset. And it's something that you can build. Many of us are born with it. Others learn, they develop it. So the men that develop tactical mentalities are the men that are thriving and creating systems. And they're creating all the rules for everybody else to follow. So we're looking at a poor state of things where if we don't get a handle on it, it's going to interfere with what generations look like in the future and the roles that men and women are playing in society. But these roles are also putting women in danger because when men think, say, or find out, or let me not say find out, are comfortable with becoming transgendered women and living as a woman, now they're competing against women, natural born women. So women, natural born women are competing against natural born women, and then we have transgendered women competing with women. That is putting women in dangerous situations. When we look at domestic violence, is through the roof in this day and age because women are seen as no longer of value. And when women are being seen as not valuable, then people are thinking that a woman's life is not important. So it's a matter of how do we have these conversations with men so that they get back on track? Or how do we have the conversations as in to say, we no longer need to use the old system of how men take care of themselves and take care of a household. Maybe we need to get rid of that system altogether because the wealth gap, like I said previously, is widening, making it more difficult for many men to survive, much less thrive. And it becomes a problem for us, the woman. Now, we have a lot of transgendered women, like I said, who think that they can woman better than women. Because now, when we look at it, which is unfortunate, and this will be another conversation for the following week, but women who are naturally beautiful and who are sensual, not sexy, sensual women are always attacked. They are attacked, they're bullied on the job and pushed out of jobs. They are attacked in society. They're not liked by most women because most women are insecure around voluptuous women who are sensual and who rest in our divine feminine energy. So we get pushed out. In that, women are uncomfortable to be feminine and sensual because when we're always under attack, then that also means that we are always needing to defend ourselves. And when you're put in positions to have to defend yourselves more times than not, that takes away from your femininity. It takes away from your sensual nature. It takes away from your womanhood. So now we have a lot of women who are not in their sensual nature because, they're afraid to be pretty and soft and feminine. They got to be hardcore to let people know I'm not the one to mess with. But the problem with that is that you're taken away from your essence. But we have transgendered women, which are actually men. They're basking in that sensual energy. I don't know if you guys pay attention to them when you see them walk down the street, the way they talk with their lips and flip their hair and things like that. And guess what? Women accept that from them because they are men. And unfortunately, women are comfortable with men doing that because they think that these men are not their competition. Also, you can't attack a man. Although he's a transgendered woman, he's still a man. And many of these transgendered men, I've seen them beat men, much less fighting a female. So what we're doing is damaging things for ourselves and other women to thrive and be in our purest form when we're always under attack and we have to save ourselves and protect ourselves. Only for the carbon copies to take our position. It's like a destiny swap, and we don't realize that this is happening. Too many women have always been friends with gay men, DL men, transgendered women. Not also understanding that these men are paying attention to how you treat other women, the things you say about your boyfriends. You know, some of these DL, all of them are right in the middle where they're listening to conversations that men are having about women, and they're listening to conversations that women are having about men, and they're paying attention to how women treat other women. And they're paying attention to the woman that gets attacked. None of these men want to act like a Shaniqua. They don't want to be Shaniqua. They're not out here acting loud like Cardi B and all that stuff. They want to be feminine and sensual. Flip their hair, and they're nice, and, you know, their nails and their mannerisms and everything. They want to be like that. You know why? Because they're still men, and they understand that men is naturally attracted to feminine, sensual women. We're getting tricked out of our spots. And because we're doing that to other women, the other thing is a lot of these men are not going through their rites of passage. So back in the day, you know, with our ancestors, you had to go through a rites of passage in order to step into the community and have and provide some structure to the community. Many of these men are not they're not going through the rites of passage. They're not being held to a standard. They're not being held accountable because women are just throwing themselves at men. They don't even know if these men are principled, what type of principles, what type of integrity, what kind of honor they have. So throwing yourselves at these men means that you hold them to no standard. They don't have to prove anything. We're all over the place with how we treat other ourselves and other women. There's no grace at all for other women. All of us are not voluptuous, but we all have currency. These are more of the conversations we have to get back into because we are losing our way. And in that, we're in no position right now to lay down the law and hold people accountable so this nonsense can stop. You have transgendered women saying that we don't owe men femininity. Because some of them are just straight men. They're just, because they're still men. So many of them are just hardback, tall men that are identifying as women. And they're straight up telling straight men, I don't owe you femininity. You're in a man's face telling him you don't owe him femininity, but you want him to be with you when he wants to be with a feminine woman. It is the audacity, the kind of pushback, discussions, and arguments that I am seeing in today's time, and it is because everybody's out of control and doing whatever they want to do. Because it's whatever makes living easier for them. See, with structure and principles, some people, it's hard for some people to uphold those certain structures and principles for themselves. So now everybody has this individuality type of thing going on where it's every man for themselves, and they're going to do what they want to do, and then they want you to accept them as they are, and they want to tell you you are not who you are. And I don't think we're seeing that. We're not seeing that. Any questions or statements?
I think I have a problem going into the bathroom with another man. I don't go to public bathrooms. I just hold to myself until I get home. But I would have a problem. I would have a problem, and if my daughter was still alive, I'd have a problem with her being in the bathroom with a transgendered male. But I guess you have to worry if she's in there with the woman that wants to be a man. I don't know. It's all confusing, very confusing.
What you said is correct. Because remember, as I said earlier, many transgendered women still have a penis. They haven't had surgery. That's another thing we haven't talked about. You know how many cases of transgendered women where they've raped young girls in bathrooms?
Yeah.
Or if you put a transgender woman in prison because he identifies as a woman, you lock him up with women and they getting females pregnant in jail. Many of them are still operating as the man that they are. They're just identifying as women because it's easier for them to live and get by in this world.
Mm.
Right. You know,
Mm.
the average man that's happy to use his hands or want to install countertops or is thinking about building computers and things like that, he's not concerning himself with being a transgendered woman. And many of those guys are making top dollar. The man that's the mechanic, they're not concerning themselves with that. Again, these are men that I don't see having masculine skill sets. So they may want to go and work in the office and not have to hustle like many other men do. And they want to work in the office and keep their hands clean and answer the phones and type at a computer and things of that nature. And again, they don't want to be burdened with having to take care of a community and a household.
Can I
Ollie?
chime in? Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's Melvin. I wanted to.
No, go ahead, my sis. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Melvin. So,
Hmm.
as Sister Joyce just said, as we just went to disease convention,
Yes.
we went into the bathroom that was transgender. So
Um,
I found that to be totally disgusting. A male came out the restroom when I was with somebody that was sided,
mm,
and she practically seen that. Not the fact that I couldn't see that, but a person spotted that out. But when I went into it, it was a stall a such as what a male can use as well.
mm.
So no, not at all. So that means that I can be in the restroom as a male could be in the restroom as well. So Latoya know how to use her mobility cane. Yes, I know how to use that too.
As
I'm
you
just letting
should.
you know. I'm just letting you know that I know how to use it, and
Right.
I will whoop your
Behind.
I don't care how tall I stand 5'10". I don't care if you stand little. I don't care if you stand taller than me. I know how to use it.
As you should.
I don't care how
Thank you.
masculine you are. And most of them are masculine. They like to whip their hair. They like to do it all. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
But
Uh,
totally
Thank you.
disgusting, though. Totally disgusting.
Thank you,
But
Toya.
so
Uh,
go right ahead. I'm passing the mic to Melvin.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want. Hey, how you doing, young lady?
How
I'm
are
doing
you?
well. Oh, I'm
Good, good.
sorry. Ooh,
No, both of you are good. Both of you good. Just
good.
just want to roll back a little bit on a couple of statements that was made. Actually, quite a few. I don't think the occupation really determines um if a male is capable of being a breadwinner. Uh, if a male is in the office and doing office work, when you go back to the 50s, 60s, most of the people who were doing office work was males. And they came home and they maintained the household and everything else and stuff. Um, that's one part I want to say. The in terms of men being capable of doing certain tasks, um, skill sets is not determined by a gender. A lot of times, this is me speaking. Skill sets is determined by your upbringing and definitely your education. You know, so I just thought that some of the statements were like blanketed, and then the last one was yes, the sisters are in a very peculiar place. The women are in a very peculiar place. But I can't fault the whole of society for that, because at one point, and this was really the government doing. At one point, the women wanted to be engaged in everything that the man was in. Baseball, football. We could do it just as good as you can. And that wasn't really people of, I'm going to say, African descent. That was more the other people that was really pushing that stuff. And a lot of us followed. And, what do you say to people who may have a pastime for themselves to get off their machismo, their macho-ness and everything else? And everything is like, hey, man, we can't have anything of our own. A lot of stuff that's happening right now is, whether you know it or not, is political. It's political, meaning that the decisions and stuff come from the top down. And a lot of that is to create havoc, what you're seeing right now in the community. I can go on, but I'll stop there.
I thank you very much, Melvin. I agree with that to a great extent. Okay, so going back to skill sets, I understand it's not gender specific, and many of it, like you said, is contingent upon our upbringing. Other of it is genetic, right? Women are born with the ability to multitask. We don't have to learn how to multitask. We were born with that ability, because we are the ones that are, and that's a scientific fact. I forgot the doctor who actually studied both the woman's brain and the male's brain, but because the women are the givers of birth, you have to multitask in order to take care of children and run a household. So it is a scientific fact that women were born with the mind that's easy for multitasking, right? When you can easily multitask, you can also easily learn other skill sets and grasp other ways of thinking and integrate thought processes and systems while you're still working on one thing in particular. So it gives us an advantage. However, as I said earlier, that is something that a person can teach themselves. You can learn how to multitask. Now you would have to put yourselves in position, whether it's a job, whether you participate in a program, some kind of sport, something where you can learn how to multitask and then be great at it. Or just say, how do you get yourself out of certain situations? How do you think about situations? How do you strategize? How are you thinking about yourself, thinking about your life, strategizing for yourself in your life? A person can learn how to multitask. And of course, it's a muscle. So the more you do it, the greater you get at it. And hence, one of my favorite quotes, it gets greater later. So what I'm saying is that many of the men that are opting to be transgendered women are not pushing themselves in that way. And like I said, it's very difficult for them to acquire wealth and take care of themselves in a household. If you notice, many transgendered women also don't have children in a family, so they don't have to concern themselves with upkeep in a household. And although I know that you say that this is political, it is still human beings that are choosing to do this because of their personal choice. Now, in the political aspect, I can see where you're saying where they're making the gap between the have and have-nots wider, making things expensive, cost of living, just things are going sky high. People are getting fired from their jobs. So when higher ups in government do things in that way, they do know that society is going to create anarchy and chaos. They know that, and they're just waiting for people to destroy themselves. It's like burning things down to the ground, cleaning up the ash, and starting over. However, people are still choosing to live this kind of lifestyle, and there's still reasons why these lifestyles are happening. Like next week's show, I'm going to. It is why are women being blamed for men being gay and trans women? Because women are getting the blame now.
How is that? How's yeah? Well, we'll wait till next week.
Yeah, that's
Unpack
the
that one.
next week. It's going to be an interesting conversation, and the women are not. I tapped on a little bit into it in this discussion, but we have to, as women, remember. When you have children and children playing around too much horsing around, jumping on the couch, jumping on the bed, and you told them more than one time when you lay down the law, or you take that belt from out the closet and you shake the belt and they hear the belt buckle, everybody gets quiet. We have to get back to that. Right now, we can't say anything and be heard and respected as a collective. I could, but but the integrity that I have, my character remains how it is in spite of what it is that I'm going through. People have tried to provoke me, silence me, all types of things, and I still maintain the same character. Never letting people trick me out of my spot. And not only that, it's also because I have a tactical mind. Because people are trying to provoke you, but if you don't know how to move to prevent certain things from happening, certain things will happen, and I will be in predicaments where I may have to physically defend myself, or someone may physically harm me. So it still calls for me to be thinking about my environment and understand that it's nobody's responsibility to keep me safe but my own. However, it's still unfortunate to be amongst people and know that because I represent what I represent and people want to do what they want to do, I make them uncomfortable. They would rather me not be there. And there's too much of that going on in society right now to where no one, remember back in the day, we had so many people. We had, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Kwame Ture, Maya Angelou, Medgar Evers, Huey P. Newton. We had so many people to step up and say something when things got out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
We have Makeba, Shirley Chisholm. We had nowadays. Who do we have? Because the very people in your community are choosing to not respect the righteous voice. They want you dead. And most people seem to be on the same page with that, and they don't understand that when you continue to keep allowing that to happen, and it gets to the point where your strong and righteous people are out of the way, when chaos happens, who's going to step up to make sure that the community is safe? Who's going to listen to who? Because there's no one that people are going to listen to straighten this out. We got to get back to the basics. It's out of hand.
And it's a mindset.
Can I be heard?
Say that again?
Can I be heard?
Yes.
Can I be heard?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I know y'all not going to listen to me even though I'm right. Know that I'm right, all right?
Okay.
So, with that being said, Melvin mentioned women being in a precarious situation. Mm-hmm. And you basically said the same thing earlier. Mm-hmm. Because these women that think they want to be men, they go into the ladies' room. The men that identify as women and now politically they're allowed to go into the ladies' room, mm-hmm. They put women in danger, both of them. So women are in that precarious situation because they could be attacked by either or. A woman lays her head on another woman's shoulder for comfort, but she doesn't understand how that woman can manipulate her into doing things she wouldn't otherwise do. And then once she does it one time, then she can be forced because of fear of exposure of their one time into doing it more and more and more. And that's all I had to say. Also to let Mattoon know we're off mute for a moment.
You are absolutely correct in what you say, right? And I think the brother Melvin or maybe Joffrey said this earlier too, where you had the women coming out saying that I can do the same thing as men. I'm just as strong as men.
Yeah.
Again,
That was it. Mm-hmm.
This is this is why I say I have to get on the women on another show. But I'm going to get into this as in to say these are petty tactics. And no, we can't do the same thing as men. I mentioned this, I think, on Melvin's show last week, that if I have to move a heavy couch, I don't have a man's strength to move it. What I do is rock the couch back and forth, like I push rock. So I'm going to move the couch, but certainly I don't have the strength. So no, I can't do the same thing a man can do. I can move something, but I have to get all kinds of different tools and find all kinds of techniques to do it. And these are the things that women are not saying when they say that they can do anything a man can do. Now it's a matter of what's leading women to saying that, right? People don't understand that it makes better sense to address the issue than to get into the arrogance and the petty warfare of things.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
I think society is hemmed up on arrogance and hemmed up on stripping people of their confidence, humbling people, right? If you look up what the word humble means in a dictionary, it means a lowly person, like you're a low person of no value, of no rank, you're just low, right? I say we got to get out of calling ourselves humbled. We're measured. I'm a measured human being. You know, I give everybody grace in the same respect that as I give myself. I don't care to call myself humble, but society has this knack for humbling other people. So this was what will encourage them to speak in that type of way. Sometimes women are dealing with domestic violence and men, oppressing them and silencing them. And sometimes their only lashback is to say, well, I can do the same thing that you can do to bring him down. But what they don't understand is that created a wave where you have other women jumping on the bandwagon, as in to say you're not a man and you're not needed, and that's not the message here. The message is to focus on what the crime is, not to focus on your arrogance and stripping people of their confidence. Focus on what the issue is, because when you put out statements like that, everybody else don't know why you're saying what you're saying. And then there are young people listening, and then they're, chiming in and jumping on the same bandwagon.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the same thing of when I mentioned earlier about men who were sexually abused, who were gay and transgender. This is the lifestyle that they're living, but they're making it seem as if this is just a choice, and the choice was not influenced by circumstance. Now you have young people that's coming up that says, well, I'm going to choose to do this too. But they haven't had the same circumstance. It makes better sense for people to tell their truth.
Yeah. Can I chime in? Because it's my granddaughter, right? Well, my lady's kid. I call her my granddaughter, right? And when I said that this thing is political, I meant it. And let me I'm going to go back to a point where we all can remember, because I think we're most of the same age. If you remember the 70s movies, you saw masculinity at its best. You saw femininity. You saw the femininity at its best. Yes. No one was in competition.
Right.
People were conducting themselves as natural. You know, whether it was an African American show, it was a black show, a Puerto Rican show, whatever it was at that particular point in time. You did have a few, but not like Firestone you see now. But when you look at the characters, you knew a man when you saw the man. You knew a woman when you saw the woman. And I'm laughing when I think about Archie Bunker when his first show when his show opens up and he goes, we didn't need no welfare check. Everybody pulled their weight. He listens to the words. But the point that I'm making when I said that it's political, right? Understand this. When you want to change the mindset of the masses, you have to use the available media that you have. In that case, it's the TV. And then you have the shows that come in starts showing different characters. Characters don't look as masculine as they did when you start moving into the 80s and the 90s. Okay? And when you have cartoons, that's how you get the kids. When you sit down and watch some of the cartoons and hear what's coming out of the mouths of the characters, you got to go, you know. But I think the bomb that really set this whole thing off and moving forward was when your Obama came into office, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he sanctified that everybody can marry everybody. And then from there moving forward, you had all kind of parades and you had laws that was protecting them and everything else. And I can say from experience, I went to court because my neighbor downstairs said I threatened him. Never touched him. And he was gay. You know, I had to end up paying a fine, you know, and but he hit me, he pushed me like this, and I'm sitting there, and I had a lawyer that was in training. So I was like, look at this, you know. So they're giving enormous amount of rights, and then you allow them to you allow the drags to go into the school system,
Yeah.
and begin to teach the kids. My granddaughter came home at the age of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what she asked me?
Mm.
She asked me, what was her gender?
Oh, wow.
What? And I looked at because they have posters and everything else. The stuff that be going on in school is amazing, right? And so I looked at her. Now, she wasn't my child. And
Right.
what went through my head was, oh, you like D all day long. I just said that to a 10-year-old. But I looked at her, and I was baffled because I was like, we didn't go through this when we were going to school.
Right.
So they're pushing all this stuff upon the young minds that had not even reached mental puberty.
Right.
And so what we're seeing right now is a lot. Even in her school today, she tells me that she's 15 right now. You know, she tells me the girls will be behind the benches in the gym and they're kissing and everything else. The system is crazy. But in the school, they promote a lot of this stuff.
Right, because
you know?
I have a question in regards to that. So they allowed them to kiss behind the benches. But when we were children, we couldn't kiss a boy or a boy couldn't kiss a girl behind the benches.
No, we weren't doing that. We were outside playing.
We weren't allowed. And we would get
spin the bottle. We would play spin the bottle.
I mean,
and believe
yeah.
me.
And I mean, we did that, you know, at home. But I'm saying in school, we were not allowed to do that in school. So that's how much they're pushing the agenda where they're even making it okay for that to happen. But again, that goes back to, you know, our messaging and why we're doing the things that we're doing. Some women are opting to be with other women because they were sexually abused and they've had terrible experiences, and now they don't want anything to do with the man. The other thing is women taking on men jobs. Women don't tell the truth. Like I said earlier, a lot of women get bullied out of jobs. A lot of women that have voluptuous shapes, we got to keep it real. Women with nice full breast, nice hips, and a nice behind with glutes get pushed out of jobs. They are attacked on the job and they are pushed out of jobs. This is part of the reason why it's leading women to go into men jobs, men careers. Then you have women that don't care to dress up on their job, right? They just want to go to work and get paid, make good money, take care of themselves, and go home. So they're going into men fields. But I say again, when we push a made-up agenda, we don't realize how that's going to come back to bite us in the behind. Because the slogan was, "I can do the same thing that a man can do."
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand how that was making men feel. So now men are saying women are trying to take our jobs. And what women don't understand is it's hard enough for men to thrive under the patriarchal system. And when they look at women taking their jobs, they're saying now, how is it that generations of men are going to thrive if women are coming into our spaces? But what women should have been saying is that it's hard for me to stay on a job because every job I go on, I get bullied and attacked. If you go into the average office, you go into the average working office, and I used to work in corporate America for years. You would think that voluptuous women don't exist. All the women that's working in cubicles do not have a voluptuous shape. And no, I'm not going to work to look at people, but I'm also observant. Where are the voluptuous women? A lot of them get pushed out of jobs, and then they become stay-at-home wives, or they go and work mediocre jobs, and get paid wages that they can't afford to their lifestyle off of that pay wage. You also have other women who go into exotic dancing and things of that nature. When they're attractive and voluptuous, they are unable to keep jobs. Hence, you think that attractive women, oh, they're stupid, they're bimbos, because they are pigeonholed into certain areas for them to survive and thrive. And then they've been given a stigma.
Yes, yeah.
But the reality
Yes, yeah.
is, yes, you may. Yeah.
Okay. We have to remember, number one, Geraldine was before, what's her name, Geraldine was before whatever that was, that Melvin had mentioned, that show. So we've had homosexuality even in this community, in the melanated community, forever. The political, when he brings up Obama, that politicized it, made illegal legal to have them come out of the closets and parade themselves, okay? That's the political aspect that has us so down in the dumps, if you will, even today. Now, DEI, which everybody is so upset about them getting rid of, just remember, DEI replaced affirmative action, which was initially intended to benefit us, although the white woman got more out of it than we did.
Right.
So I just wanted to bring those things up, whatever that was, I can't think of the name of that Archie Bunker sitcom, but Geraldine, she was out, or he was out, Flip Wilson, even before Archie Bunker. So with that, I'm going to yield, and I'm going back on mute if Mattoon doesn't have anything to say.
Miss Holly?
Yes.
As you were saying, as average females, we cannot do the average things that a male can do, to be quite honest.
That's true.
I cannot talk over another person, Mattoon. If somebody's talking, I have to wait.
Oh, please excuse me, Mattoon.
What did Mattoon say?
Speak to the podcast, Mattoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How is everybody doing?
Everybody's okay. Who is this, may I ask?
Oh, this is an old man called Bill Graves.
Oh, hi, Bill Graves. How are you?
Fine. This is Ann.
Oh, this is Arlene Ramsey.
Arlene. I know. I knew it started with an A, so I figured I'd start with A and work down.
Okay. Almost ready to wrap up. Today's topic was, is there an attack on masculinity? Why are more men becoming transgendered women? So it's 8:25. Great show. Next week's show, again, is going to be why are women getting blamed for men being gay and trans women?
Wow, I'm going to have to try to make that because that's something I want to know.
Yeah. It's a discussion that we need to have. It's long overdue. Again, family, I want to thank you all for coming out. Before me was Sister Dr. Bell with her show, Feeling Nourished. Yesterday at 6 o'clock was Sister Francesca, her show, No Longer Silent. It was canceled, but she comes on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yes, and then I come on every Thursday at 7:15 to 8. After me would be
Me.
No, Bill Graves. Yeah, Bill Graves is after me, and then after Bill Graves will be Baba Joe. So you guys tune in. Bill Graves is already in. It's 8:26. I am going to clock out. And again, thank you all for those of you who came out to the third annual Dis-Ease Prevention Health Convention this weekend. It was a success. I will have you know, and good to see you all. And I'm out.